Today on Her Brave Story podcast, I am joined by Nele Vandersmissen, a transformational facilitator and founder of Wonder, a company redefining how we create change through ritual, story, and human connection.
Which is connection to the natural world and what I call the seen and unseen forces. The transpersonal, for example, belongs to that. Also, interpersonal connection, so deeper connection with the humans around you that you share this life with, whether that's at work or in your family or in your friendship group. And then your connection to self. So this work that I do is all about where do they overlap? And there's the power. If you're deeply connected to self and others in the world around you, then you have an inherent sense of belonging. And that is amazing. What if everyone could feel like they truly belong to the place that they live, but also to the family system that they're part of and the community they're part of, and even to their own body?
Hey, Brave Soul, it's your friend Chrystal Dawn, and this is Her Brave Story podcast. I want to begin by acknowledging that I am on the sacred lands of the Arakwal people of the Bundjalung Nation, and I pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging, and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm truly grateful that you are here. Her Brave Story podcast is a conversation that sparks courage, ignites possibility, and celebrates the brave in every woman. Because women's stories matter. If we haven't met yet, welcome. I'm Chrystal Dawn, storyteller, saltwater mama, and women's mentor, here to support you in creating a life that you love with more freedom, joy, and ease. What if the bravest thing you could do is walk away from everything that wants to find you, to follow a path no one else can see? And what if that path isn't about doing more, but it's about remembering what you never lost? With a background in cultural science and leadership experience across the not-for-profit and corporate worlds, Nele has co-founded We Can Be Sheroes, led global initiatives, and pioneered the first nature-based counsel program at Snapchat APAC, bringing circle practice and the rites of passage into the heart of the tech world. In this conversation, we explore how real transformation happens in spaces of honesty, nature, and courage, and how remembering, reclaiming, and reconnecting might just be the bravest work we'll ever do. Before we dive in, please follow our show, leave us a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear her brave story. Please help me give a warm welcome to Nele Vandersmissen. Hi, Nele, and welcome to Her Brave Story today. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
And where are you tuning in from today, Nele?
I am currently in a quaint place called Medlow Bath in the Blue Mountains on Derrick and Gundungurra country. And it's very autumny, wintry here, which is lovely. It's like in the middle of the change of the seasons.
So beautiful. Thank you for naming the traditional custodians of the land that you're on. If you're tuning in on Spotify or Apple, or you're listening in or watching, you can see us here. And these are the places that we're tuning in from. And in Australia, it's custom to name these places and pay respect to the traditional custodians of the land, past, present, and emerging.
I love doing that. It's so special to me. I was born in Belgium and I've been here for 19 years now. And it still moves me to honor and recognize the country that I live on, because I feel like it's such a privilege that I get to live here and that there is a culture that is the oldest culture on this earth still lives here, and we get to experience their incredible heritage and culture and traditions and practices. And I can talk about that for hours. I love doing that. I love thinking about that and being moved by it.
Nele, your work that you're doing really revolves around respect and reverence with nature. And you are a circle facilitator and the founder of Wonder, I'd love to hear in your own words about wonder.
I could talk about this for hours, but wonder is all about connection. So, of course, I chose the name wonder because wonder already implies a deep connection to the world around you. It's about looking up and being in awe with the natural world and all of the seen and unseen things around us. And so for me, even recognizing the country is so important because it is part of that. It's wonderful, that you know the history of a place and its natural environment and the people that have roamed there. And all of that stuff is so amazing to know and inspires awe, I think. And the work that I do brings those three layers together of connection, which is connection to the natural world and what I call the seen and unseen forces. The transpersonal, for example, belongs to that. But then also interpersonal connection. So deeper connection with the humans around you that you share this life with, whether that's at work or in your family or in your friendship group. And then your connection to self. So this work that I do is all about where do they overlap? And there's the power. Like if you're deeply connected to self and others in the world around you, then you have an inherent sense of belonging. And that is amazing. What if everyone could feel like they truly belong to the place that they live, but also to the family system that they're part of and the community they're part of, and even to their own body, that you're in your own body, that you belong there, that it's not just something that you're trying to force into a certain shape, that you're reverent of the place that you live and that you feel like you belong to your own body, and that the thing that you embody in the world is actually in alignment with your true nature, and that it's not something that you're forcing or trying to be that you're not. Practically, what that looks like is group facilitation with all of those three elements in mind. I run retreats there in nature, and we invite people to reconnect to their own wild nature by being in wild nature and then talking about it in circle with people and having these revelatory experiences because those three elements are combined. On top of that, I also teach people how to do what I do. I train facilitators in circle, and I also train rites of passage facilitators. And I run a program to help people design transformational retreats.
Wow. In the transformational field, your work is deep because you're bringing all these three things in together. Can you tell us what circle facilitation is?
Of course, would love nothing more. As a facilitator, you create a space for people to share from the heart, I always say. In essence, what that means is that people gather in a group and the conversation is facilitated in a way that only one person speaks at a time and everyone else is invited to listen. When you learn to be a facilitator, what you learn is to have the template, or what I call the technology, of how these conversations are run and what the agreements are that the group adheres to, and what to do and how to guide the conversation. The difference in how people are in a circle is that you don't practice what you're going to say. That's one of the agreements that I always share. You speak to what is true for you in the moment, that you are past the talking piece. So the talking piece is the tool to ensure that only one person speaks at the time, and it's the person that is holding the talking piece. I have a bunch here, like this one. You pass it on, and whoever is holding that gets to talk.
This transformational world, working with nature, is not something that you always did. You were in corporate before this. That's when we met. It's so interesting. I bring us back here because I love hearing how people made these big shifts from where they were to where they are now.
We can go on that journey for sure. I do this practice often with people on retreats or in transformational programs that I call tracking, and it's like tracking in nature. So you go track, you follow a trail like breadcrumbs, and it's the tracking of your story. We invite people to track all of the numinous moments in their lives that were life-changing, but also the plot twists and the turns, and then kind of make this treasure map of how does this all make sense in the larger story. And of course, I have done that many times for myself. So I can look back and be like, oh, I always loved nature. I was a child who my favorite thing was being in the library or being in the woods by myself, because I'm an only child. And I really grew up feeling very comfortable being in my own space, and most comfortable and most regulated in nature. It's always been a thing for me. And then when I moved to Sydney, I loved it here so much. I was completely wowed by this country and wild nature and the vastness, but also the excitement, because I was in my late 20s. It was like, wow, city life. I had a great time here. And then I decided to stay. I got a corporate job because that was what gave me the opportunity to stay in the country. It was a practical consideration. So I became a recruiter, like a headhunter, and it was brutal, that environment, for someone who is most regulated on her own in nature. I feel everything happens for a reason. I did that job for 7 or 8 years, until I became a permanent resident and later an Australian citizen. It was interesting because I knew the whole time that I was in that job that wasn't my true nature. I, for a while, kind of tricked myself into, yes, but it serves a cause. And most people around me had this narrative of, you just work so you can live. You work really hard at what you do, and then when you have time off, then you can spend all that money and do all the stuff that you love doing. That's the paradigm. I adopted that paradigm for a while because I was like, well, yes, I'm making good money because I was on commission. For a while, I really loved being that woman in the suit with the high heels and like killing it at work and going for cocktails and, all of, that city life, but boat parties and all the things that people in Sydney do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And at the same time, in my soul, there was something that was gnawing all the time. There was a sort of deeper knowing all the time of, this is not it. This is not it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell myself as much as I want that this is it, but I also knew that it isn't. And it's interesting looking back on this now, because when I run transformational programs and trainings, I teach people, when people are ready for a transformation, when they feel like they reached a point of, I say you have to go to the underworld. So you're like, you have to go down and meet yourself, And when you reach that point, you can feel it because something has been knocking on the door for a while, and you can ignore that knock for a little while, and then at some point there's just a man with a hammer.
Yeah.
Like there's a choice you can make. You can either, open the door and go through the portal and travel there semi-comfortably, like it's never going to be super comfortable, but you can choose to go through transformational programs, like come to a rite of passage program and do the work whilst you're in a held space. Yes, you may break open and you may have difficulty and discomfort. What you don't have to go through, though, is someone kicking you down the stairs. So I think in life, the moment of the transformation is either chosen or unchosen, and mostly it's unchosen. And so the programs of transformation are there to provide a chosen way of going through a rite of passage so that your transformation is one that you can have in a guided, supported way. That's the difference. I did not do that. I got kicked down the stairs.
I can relate.
Yeah. And I think most people can relate. And I also think you have to get kicked down the stairs a few times before you're like, hello, is there a different way to do this?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I knew the whole time it wasn't right for me, but I also didn't have anyone to talk to that about, because everyone in my group of friends was doing the same thing. And we were all, I mean, you were part of that group of friends. And there was definitely this narrative of, look at this idyllic life that we're all living, and in a way that was true. We were all living by the ocean and going surfing and,
Yeah, city life, as you said, it's really different. There's a lot of different pulls in the city for attention.
Right. It was just a lot. I knew that there was something pulling me or inviting me deeper. And I didn't have a way to do that in the place that I was in. So I ended up going to a retreat in Montana with women, which I decided on a complete whim because I'd read this book and it was like, wow, this feels like a thread I need to follow. And I ended up in Montana, which was one of the very spontaneous choices I made in life without looking into how much that would cost me to fly there and all of those things. But I went, and it was a rite of passage for women that was held in Circle 10 years ago this year. It completely changed my life. I was there for 6 or 7 days and it broke me. So it did that thing that it
Wow.
needed to do, which is I just had to admit and face myself and be like, this is not the life that I want to live. And
Hmm.
even though it looks great on paper, there's something missing for me here. And what's missing is deeper connection to self and to others in the world. And just being in awe of nature again. I was with all these amazing women. There was just a depth of conversation that was happening. And that concept of, I think, sisterhood that I
Yeah.
had never really experienced. That's why I sparingly use that word now, because when I work with women, actually we experience real sisterhood, or we get glimpses of
Mm.
it in these circle spaces, right? But I feel like the word is used too often. And actually true sisterhood is a whole thing that is rare, you
Ooh,
know?
this is, yeah, I do. And I would just, the really close friend of mine who also holds circles, she actually said that. I would say at the end of our conversation, she said, I feel really uncomfortable with that word sisterhood sometimes because I feel like it's overused and it's used
Yes.
out of context for what it really could mean. So I love you bringing that into this conversation because sisterhood is absolutely something I want to foster and to help nurture in lots of ways. There's cultural meanings for the word as well. It's really interesting the reverence that you have for sisterhood and your direct experience with what that can mean and what it might not mean in other contexts.
That could be its own podcast too. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, that's right.
it's such a long conversation, but such a juicy
Mm.
one. Because I
Yes.
experienced it then for the first time, like
Yeah.
real, true sisterhood, where you feel so seen and heard, and people cry with you and hold you through things, and there is no judgment. There's no
Mm.
fixing or giving advice, like all of that stuff. I had never experienced that before. And I had never opened myself up in that way before because I'd always considered that to be uncouth, unsafe, just not something that I did. I come from a family system where everyone holds their head high and we're really
Mm.
proud of who we are.
Hmm. Yeah.
But things also need to look a certain way. So there's no room for vulnerability ever. And,
Mm.
the good thing of that is that I'm a very strong person and I can hold a lot. And that's
Yeah.
great. And so I'm proud of that part of my lineage where I'm like, I can endure and I am resilient and I can have
Hmm.
strength. And that is definitely thanks to my family system. And I also find it hard to be vulnerable in daily life
Mm.
because I just don't feel that safe very often with many people in many situations. So for me, Circle just saved my life. And I think, people have different tools that really are that one thing that changes everything. And for me, it was that moment of sitting in a circle for the first time and being like, what's happening here? And the facilitator going, we're just gonna go around the circle, setting the agreements, all of that. And everyone just share what's your name and who are you and why are you here? And I was like, cool. As she said it, I was like, great. I have an answer to that question because I had an answer for everything, and I was going to be like, this is my resume kind of thing. I can do that thing, And then
Yeah.
everyone started and I was sitting halfway. So it was like person number 15 because it was a big group. It took hours. And the first
Wow.
person started and took like 10 minutes to say who she was and why she was there. And I was just like, oh my God, are we all going to sit here and like do that for 10 and there goes my whole thing that I had planned to say, because that's clearly not what we were saying. We were not
Yeah.
giving,
Wow.
a resume. And I
The
just,
bullet points of
yeah,
like
totally. And I also got an award for, what I mean? Like, it's hilarious. So I was like, what? And so these women were hard on the sleeve, just saying like, I'm a woman who blah, blah, blah. And I just realized that I didn't know who I was. I just didn't know how to speak it in that way. And so I felt completely inadequate. And I felt like I had accidentally been invited because it was an invite only thing. And I was like, I'm misinvited. There was a woman there who was a professor at Harvard. Like, I was like, I don't know. Can I leave? Like, I don't think this is going to work out. But I fell apart. Then walked away. And the whole time that I was there, I was like, whatever this is, I'm going to learn it and I'm going to become it and I'm going to bring this and everybody needs it. And then, it took 10 years to get where I was. I still worked in corporate for a few years after that, but the change started then. So that was the one moment that I was like, oh, it's my life before that retreat. And then my life after that retreat when everything changed. And I started to be curious about who I really was and how I wanted to be that in the world. And so for me, it was like, I want to do that. I want to hold retreats in places where people are like, oh, that was the moment that everything changed, and what a gift.
A huge gift. And how much courage it takes as well to be in that space and to admit to ourselves, well, I don't have the answer to that. What is this? I feel it and I can sense there's something going on, but I have no idea how to get into this or what to do. I can only imagine how much happened for you in that space and how deep it was to solidify that in you to want to go in a new direction with such conviction and hold on to it, even though it wasn't immediate, that you set that agreement with yourself there and then made it happen through that course of about 10 years that you transitioned over. Love what you're hearing on Her Brave Story? Please take a moment to subscribe, share our show, and leave us a review. This helps to amplify the voices of women rising and reach more brave souls just like you. And if you're craving a deeper connection and support, please come and join Her Brave Circle, our private community for women rewriting their stories and rising together. Head to herbravestory.com.
Things can take a while, and sometimes they also don't. Like, sometimes you walk away from a retreat like that. I mean, I have so many stories because I've been doing this for a while now. But women come to retreats and make big life decisions a week after, sometimes 3 months after, but they will remember the moment in the retreat where they faced themselves and they knew this is not the relationship for me, or this is not the job for me, or this, like, who am I fooling? I'm going to need to have the courage and change this. So those things, those decisions are seated in those spaces for sure. And it requires courage. So you do have to actually then, that's what we call integration. Is I could have walked away from that retreat and been like, woohoo, that was heavy shit. Thanks. Can't wait to go back to my boat life in Sydney.
Yeah. Been there, got the tattoo, I'm done.
So the integration part, and I think that does happen to some people because actually you have big revelations and then that's not the hard part. The hard part is then what do you do with that knowing? Like, because then you have to have the courage to actually make the changes, and that part of integration can be tricky. Because I didn't have a sisterhood going. Like, I had lots of friends that were really good people and still are, I'm still in touch with. But that level of depth that I had experienced in that place, I didn't know that before. So I couldn't really go back to Sydney and be like, listen, would you want to hold this talking piece? And then So, yeah.
So you had to recreate it, listening to that inner knowing or tapping into that part of yourself. Do you feel that was something that was brave for you, that took courage for you to do? Or did you feel otherwise? Was it something just like a conviction that now I have to do it? What was that process like for you of becoming into this new self?
Definitely required courage, but I also must say, and I believe in this as a concept very strongly because I see it happen over and over again, is that when you make a courageous decision, then providence meets you. 100%. every single time. And especially if it's in alignment with your true nature. Because I truly believe everyone has a unique gift, genius, talent, and you're born to come and embody that and do something with it. And every time that you make a choice in alignment with that thing, then everything in the universe is like, hallelujah. Here is, And so for me, that happened. I definitely, when I walked away from that retreat, I was like, wow, well, how do I learn how to do this? And it wasn't, now there's courses about everything online, but that wasn't the case. And I didn't immediately know how to go about that. But I think 2 or 3 months later, this woman I met at the retreat said, oh, I have a really good friend. She's coming to Australia. She's Australian, but she lives in Ojai in California. You should meet her. And I met her and she became my mentor. She was the director of the Ojai Foundation, which is where that teaching of counsel was first born. And so I couldn't have dreamt of a better person to be my mentor than her. And she didn't charge me for it. She was just happy that someone was curious about this practice, which is also kind of bananas when you think about it, And so I got to sit with her and learn from her and be in her retreats as a silent witness and a mentee. And I learned so much from just being in the space and being in the space. And then I started practicing it myself and doing women's circles and just slowly. It definitely wasn't fast. I do feel like as soon as I said yes to it, then the path appeared. I met one person after the other and yeah.
And the teacher appeared as well. When the hero leans in and the teacher appears and comes with all the gifts that it takes to grow the seeds.
Yeah. And I think the invitations are always there. Something that I said to someone this morning too is, for me, wonder also means that you're actually opening up to the world, which is, we're so wonder deprived because everyone's constantly looking at their screens. It's the opposite. You're so inward in your own little world and self-obsessed. That sounds really judgmental, but it's true in comparison. And actually the thing that makes you feel most alive is to be open to the world and have your heart open and being like, wow, look at everything that's happening outside. And when you live like that, when you open your senses, are, prone to wonder, then things can find you, then you're seeing the signs when they appear. But I even feel like, God might be knocking on everyone's door and they're like looking at their phone. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Hallelujah to that.
You're like looking in the wrong place. So I'm guilty of that. I'm on Instagram. I spend way too much time on my phone. I'm constantly trying to remedy that because I find inspiration finds me in moments where I am opened up to the world. God knocks on the door when I'm alone in nature. And if I don't make time for that, like my inspiration is not going to come from my Instagram algorithm. I can tell you that. Like, that's just not a thing.
Yes to that. And I loved hearing you say courage is met by providence. Yes. That really struck me to hear you say that. All of us listening, I think, feel that when you said it, because isn't it true that everyone has something deep inside of them that they're really wanting to share and they really want to get out, but might just need that little bit extra of a knock, or the hammer might be coming for you, or maybe you'll be lucky enough and you'll get to go to one of Nele's retreats or be in circle with someone before it comes down. I love this idea and this belief that when you do step out and you have the courage, that you will be met and you will be held, that the net will appear, that the mentor will arrive. The things that you didn't know were even possible yet will come into your life to support that dream and to support that seed and to help it grow and rise and for you to become whatever it is that is meant to, or whomever it is you're meant to be through that process.
Yes. And everything is always a step to the next thing. So it doesn't even matter if it doesn't work the way that you thought it was going to.
So beating perfection on the head again here. You don't have to nail it on the first time, is what I'm hearing you say. It's not like, okay, you have to step out and that's the end thing. You didn't say that to yourself either when you went on this journey.
And I want to also say before Wonder, I had another company and it was called We Can Be Sheroes. We were so passionate about this work and helping women. And this is 7 years ago. It was way before we started a community. And I was working so hard to make that a profitable business. And it just wasn't, it was too much work for too little return because, I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. And so that felt like a failure. I tried this thing and I think it's so important that women have spaces and we run retreats, and it was hard to fill the retreats, and then we would eventually, but the work and the stress behind it was so intense. Now I look back, which was interesting because we had a website. It was very basic. And because of that work that we were doing, and my mentor Miriam came and ran a retreat with us, I got introduced via to someone at Snapchat, and they were like, oh, we want to introduce this into our company. And eventually, long story short, I got hired to do rites of passage and circle work at Snapchat, and I was there for 4 years. And it was incredible. But if I hadn't had the company, then the name wouldn't have been out. And so now when things don't go my way, I can look at it and be like, okay, this is a redirection. I don't know yet where this is supposed to go, but I'm going to end up somewhere way better. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness. That's crazy town. You went and worked at Snapchat. Can you tell us about that?
It wasn't an immediate yes for me because I had kind of stepped away from corporate thinking, well, I'm never doing that again now that I'm an Australian citizen. And I'd done the retreat. So I was like, my true nature is to be in nature with people and I want to do circle. And then it was like I was being taunted because I had said, I just want to do this work, but I want to be paid really well for it. And so that was kind of my prayer. And then I got this invitation from Snapchat and I had a few conversations with them whilst I was sussing it out. Like, what do you mean you want to do circle in your company? I didn't get it. I didn't understand because for me, at that time, I knew circle the way I knew it, which is we all come together. It's transformational. Everyone falls apart. We all cry. And we have this big revelation, or like, that's how I had experienced it. And I ran it always as a transformational tool. So it was always in a program, in a retreat space where we really opened our hearts and shared everything. So for me, I was like, you can't do that in a company. That's crazy. And then I got more curious about it and I was like, oh my God, this is a universal tool. Of course, you can use it for anything. It doesn't have to just be to rip someone's life open. You can just have a conversation in that technology. I call it a technology. You can just use that to have a team meeting, to have courageous conversation or conflict resolution. And then I got really curious and I was like, this is epic. Like, what if you could get everyone in the world? This is a 4,000 people company with, I didn't know how many countries they had them, but I think I worked in 20 countries or something in my time that I was there. So I got to travel a lot and be with different cultures of people. And so it was epic because I got to use this tool with so many different people in my curiosity of, does this really work universally? Can you do this with men in Saudi Arabia? Are they going to run away? As it turns out, no, they love it just as much as people in China love it, just as much as people in LA love it, just as much as people in Sydney love it. That was the most amazing experience I could have dreamt of, to have that for 4 years and learn cultural competence, learn how to do this in an organizational setting. And of course, when you look back at the tracking of the map, it's perfect that I worked in corporate because I understood that world. And now I work with corporate still as a consultant, and as I go into corporations and run retreats with them or day offsites or workshops. I understand both worlds. If I hadn't had that experience, which I would have never chosen, then I wouldn't have had that language and the ability to work in a corporation, but bringing this tool, which is this ancient technology, that can be perfectly translated everywhere. So I think, to go back to your original question with wonder, I teach facilitators, and the way that I teach circle facilitation is so that you can use it in any setting. It's a really simple practice, technology, template, and it works at soccer practice, it works at Snapchat, it works around your family dining table. It works everywhere. And that's why it's been around for thousands of years, because that's what, we used to sit around a fire and pass a talking stick, and it's the same vibe. And it's life-changing for people because they feel heard and they feel seen. And that's what creates that sense of belonging, which is a primary human need for everybody, whether you're in a company or whether you're in your family system. If you don't feel like you belong, you're always going to feel like something's missing, or that you're longing for something that's not within your reach. And this practice is so simple in remedying that. So I just have this thing of like, I want everyone to know how to do this. I want everyone to have that as a tool, no matter where you are in life. Because imagine that you can have that sense of sisterhood with all your friends all the time. How amazing that you can just share what's up for you without someone going, you know what you really need?
Yeah, it's so powerful. What an incredible experience. Not only pursue your dreams, but to help other people.
Yeah, I love it. And now I'm like, I can't imagine doing anything else, even though it can be hard to have a business. I've had a really challenging week this week, and I've had to be so courageous and look after myself. And there's moments where I get jealous of friends who are like, I'm just in a normal 9-to-5 job and I'm not busy at the moment, but I'm still getting paid. I'm like, oh, that sounds lovely. And I'm dealing with insurance issues. It's so boring, but there's no way I could do anything else. This is it.
What a gift you are that we have you in the world doing your great work and pursuing the things that bring you alive and help other people to reconnect with nature, to reconnect with who they truly are and with one another. I don't know if there's more powerful work than transformational work in deep levels. And as you say, in these spaces of deep listening and deep sharing, the transformation that's possible for our world expands. And there was another guest who said, when we heal ourselves, we heal the world. It's been said before as well. And I love that concept. And that's the work that you're doing. You're helping people heal themselves, to get in touch with that and deeply listening to their own yearnings instead of pursuing the trends on social media or finding out what somebody else has to say and saying, what do I have to say about me right now? And what is it that I want to give to the world and explore?
Well, and that's the question, actually. You nailed it. What is it that I want to give to the world? What is it that I want to give to the world and explore? Like, what makes me feel alive? And like, why the hell am I not doing that?
Ooh. So for those of us listening, if these questions are landing hard like they are for me too, what advice could you give people to explore that more or get in touch with that more, who can't make it to your circle or be a part of your facilitations? What could people do to find out what they want to explore or give?
Well, a very simple question. I have two answers. One is, what's the thing that lit you up the most when you were little? Like, what's the thing that made you feel so alive? Because I can tell you, for me, it was libraries and reading books and being in nature. And if I'm ever like stuck, I just need to take myself out for a walk. That's why I moved to the Blue Mountains, because I was like, what am I doing living? I'm not a city person. Yeah. So I had to listen. That was a courageous decision too. I'm going to move away from the place that I know so well with my known friends and move to a place that's more in alignment with my true nature. That's kind of wild to do that, but that's what my heart wants. And what did I want to do when I was a kid? Like all of those things. I wanted to be an archaeologist. And when you think about that, that's about digging up stories, you know? And that's what I do. I help people dig up stories. Same stuff, you know? So there's always something. That's the thing about the tracking again. What is the thing that lit you up the most before you got stuck in a rut, you know, or before, I always say, before you became domesticated?
Ooh, I like that. Before you became domesticated,
Yeah.
what brought you alive? What did you
Yeah.
like to do?
And to just do more of that, because that takes courage. So to make time for that and to do more of that, and maybe make a few changes in your life that steer you away of what is the opposite of that, because a lot of people do a lot of things that are the opposite of what brings them to life, and somehow they justify that for themselves. The longer part to the answer is stop doing the stuff that doesn't light you up. You know, can you just like sit down right now and write a list about all the things that you think you should be doing or are healthy for you to do or whatever, but you think are terrible or you don't enjoy, and your whole body just goes, don't do those things. That's the answer to the question. And I think what we get wrong in our society, specifically for women, which I find so fascinating, is that women get really in that, they go with that masculine paradigm of, let's make a to-do list of 500 things we want to accomplish or still need to do. Or like, once we have more of this and more of that and look like that and have lost the weight and done the things and gone to the gym every day, then we can be happy with who we are, you know. And it's like never going to happen. That is never going to happen. And plot twist, when you ever get to that place that you thought you'll have something else you want. So you're never actually going to then rest on your laurels and be like, well done, here we are, we did all the things, you know, I feel amazing, I'm so proud of myself. Like, that doesn't happen. So you're kind of always chasing this thing and having anxiety and more things on your to-do list, and you keep that up, and it makes no sense at all. It's not about doing more, but it's about doing less of what doesn't light you up. If you can just start there, that's your whole life changed. You're welcome. Just write a list of all the things that you feel like you should do for other people or for your family, or the things that you think will make you happy, but you actually don't enjoy. I mean, I see so many women doing a lot of stuff to change their bodies, for example. And even though I want to say I love looking good too, so I will also spend money on a hairdresser. I'm in perimenopause, so I'm doing weights now at home, which is not a thing I would ever get into, you know, but I found a way to enjoy that because I listen to a book and I do it, and I'm like, oh, actually, this makes me feel good because I feel strong. It is thinking of what are the things that actually make you feel good. And I need to move my body a lot because I have a lot of energy. I don't like going to the gym, so I'm never going to do that. But for a while, I forced myself to do that because I wanted to stay a size 8 or 10, you know? And I just, every day I got up at 5 and like, oh my God, I hate that. No, sucks the life out of me. I don't want to do that. So all I do now is I hike, which I love. I'm in nature, and I do my weights and I dance in my house, and that's movement, and I love it. Could not be happier. So I got rid of all the things that I didn't enjoy, you know? I thought there was 2 parts to the answer, but I forgot the second one.
Yeah, you did. You gave us 2 things that are really powerful. Number 1 is asking yourself what it is that you really loved doing as a kid. And number 2, what is it you don't like doing that you're actually doing?
Yes.
Those are 2 parts, because it's not enough with just one, is it? We actually have to acknowledge there's stuff we're doing that's not moving us in the direction we want. It's actually taking a lot of energy. I just want to say I am also a woman who likes to dance in her house. Let's raise a glass. We're raising glasses of water here, but we're raising for all the women dancing in their houses right now. Maybe you're dancing listening to this. You're kind of listening to this, but you're also dancing right now. Power to you. The power of dancing. I love it.
This is also the same glass. Did you notice?
I noticed that, you know, I was like, ooh. Love what you're hearing on Her Brave Story? Please take a moment to subscribe, share our show, and leave us a review. This helps to amplify the voices of women rising and reach more brave souls just like you. And if you're craving a deeper connection and support, please come and join Her Brave Circle, our private community for women rewriting their stories and rising together. Head to herbravestory.com.
Dancing in your house.
Moving the energy. That's what I'm hearing. Doing movement that brings you alive. We want to encourage people to keep moving, especially if you are in perimenopause. It's absolutely essential for your mental health to keep moving. Whatever it is, a walk, a couple more steps a day. Stay alive.
It's also that the movement that creates the path. I think when you're in a state of freeze or kind of inertia, which can happen when you're stuck, then Providence can't actually meet you in that place. The best thing, I think, or that's my experience anyway, I'm speaking for myself. But I think the best thing to do is to keep moving. Keep your gaze to the sky, staying open instead of getting stuck in your screen. Yeah.
Yeah. For anyone who wants to learn retreats, because this is something that's coming up for you, you're actually moving into a different stage as well. One of the things that you are moving into is program design.
Yeah. Juicy.
Ooh, so juicy. Can you tell us what that's about? Because I already said before this that I put my hand up for it. So let's go, Nele. Tell us what this is coming up.
It's coming later this year, probably September or October. I'm working on the program now. It is about teaching people what a transformational arc is. If you want to design a retreat or a program and you want it to be transformational, what are the steps that you walk through from beginning to end and points on that journey that are really crucial and how you hold the group in that container? It's so powerful because I feel like there are a lot of people organizing retreats that don't have that knowledge. And sometimes a retreat doesn't have to be transformational, right? Sometimes you just want to have a break. I presume I'm a person who likes to go deep. So I have a yearning to go on retreat and be like, break me open and let me have this epic transformation. And I know that that's not the same for everybody. When you go to a retreat and it's transformational, then there is a certain way that you have to set up that place. It has to feel safe enough, but not too safe, because if there's too safe, then people can't take any risks, right? So you have to create the congruent circumstances for social nervous system safety. So people feel a certain level of comfort that is good enough so that they can open up, but also just the right amount of discomfort so that thing that's grinding actually finds its way to the surface. And that's an art, because you have to create the container, we call that, for that. And that is, how do you get people across that threshold into that space and they stay there the entire time that they're at your retreat or in your program? And then in the end, you also close it properly. And you give people everything they need so that that breakthrough or that revelation or whatever it is they had gets carried through and they don't let go of the thread. I think that's a responsibility that you have as a facilitator, is to design it in such a way and use elements that have been around for thousands of years, again, like circle, that we know to be transformational. You know, and like one of the things that I use in retreats, which is one of the things I love teaching, is ritual and ritual theater, because ritual theater is practice that's been around for thousands of years. In fact, theater used to be ritual in nature, always. It was always a way to create healing or transformation for the whole community just by the mere fact of them being part of this production. And it would be a story that would be told, a mythology that would be told. And just by you being in the audience, I get the goosebumps. By you being in the audience, you get swept into the archetypal energy that is part of that story. And it doesn't matter if your brain doesn't understand it or you didn't listen to the sentence or whatever. The energy moves through the performance and out into the space. And these productions have all of the senses. At least once in a retreat, I will have a space set up that is multi-sensory, and people come in and the facilitators have garments and they embody a story or tell a story, and it's the story that is needed, the energy that's needed to address what's alive in the group, and people get swept up in it. And it's subtle. Something in you remembers, and I can't explain it any other way, but something in your soul knows that story because it's thousands of years old, so that archetype, whatever it is in that story, gets enlivened in you, and then that pulls a thread. So that's something that not a lot of people know how to use that tool, and people can find their own comfort with it. Like maybe it is about you're running a retreat and you want to guide people to a place in the forest and you've put a fire there and they're like, oh, what now? And you just facilitate something there. That's also ritual theater. It's about creating elements in your retreats or in your programs where people connect to something really guttural and really real, and they remember like, wow, something. It's kind of like you open the door to the miraculous, and they suddenly have this memory of being a child and thinking everything's possible. Creating moments like that is epic, should be part of every transformational space, I think, personally. I'm excited about teaching people about it.
That is so exciting. And even just hearing you say that, I'm even more excited about storytelling. And in particular, there's no mistake when I chose the words her brave story, because I know as well the importance of story, the stories we tell ourselves, the stories we come into, the stories we're told. I've never heard this word ritual theater, these words together. You painting the picture of leading people into the forest. There's a fire already prepared, the wonder and the magic and the opening of the subconscious mind into, we're now in a different space, as you named earlier, where things are not quite the same as they were before, where the rules are different, where we enter into the story world, where then the storyteller can help to bring about that transformation in an even more rapid way because of the scene that you've set, is what I'm hearing, and how that rapid transformation actually necessitates storytelling on a deep level.
And that's it. You've nailed it. Because people remember their own story because of the archetype of story and the storyteller. And they get invited into it. And it's subtle. Yeah. It's better when it's subtle because it's subliminal. And so it doesn't happen on a mind level, but it happens deeper. And that's why it's so powerful. And that is an art, to create that. We call that a liminal space. But in essence, the liminal space is the place where you're in no story, because you have your old story. Like I had my corporate life in Sydney, that's my old story. And then I end up in Montana, and for 7 days I'm in a liminal space and I have no idea who I am. I was mush. I was like, what's my name?
The caterpillar. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So it's literally, actually the analogy is you're a caterpillar and then you go into the chrysalis and you're mush. And you don't know yet, I don't think, who knows, we'll have to ask, that you're going to be a butterfly and what that's going to look like, but you can only hope, and you're contained by the chrysalis. You have this thing that contains you, but inside you're mush. And so that is the place of the transformation that you, as a facilitator, need to create. You're holding the chrysalis and creating the container that is really rocks, like so steady and so safe for people. And at the same time, they feel very liminal. They're like, what? But it's all allowed and it's all good. And then you get them to think about, what's the new story? What's your butterfly look like when you come out of here? What's the new story you're writing? And what's that going to look like? And you give them these moments of opening up again and again and again, a little bit further and a little bit further, so that the possibility shines through. So they're like, wow, through those ritual theater moments and the moments of reverence and magic, they get to be like, in fact, what if everything is possible? And then
I wonder.
That's actually at the end of retreats, I say, can we do a round of I wonder? I wonder if I go home and I do this, what would happen? I wonder if, so that's that. It's very exciting.
What an amazing coach, a leader to take you through a program like this. The name so far would be program design or somewhere around that. Where is the best place for people to find you, Nele?
I have a website called wonder.global, and it's wonder without an E, so WONDR.global. And you can find the circle facilitator training on there. And there's also a form you can complete for retreat design training, program design training. And there's also a free fun program if you're curious about exploring that more aliveness. I have a program called A Week of Wonder. And that's something that you can walk, which is 7 days of short videos to kind of open up to the world in a way that's miraculous and opening the door to that sense of aliveness, that sense of possibility through engagement with other people and the natural world.
Beautiful. And a question that I like to ask is, do you have a song or anthem that you're rocking out to right now when you're dancing around your house, or that gets you in state?
Yes, I do. I am a huge Beyonce fan, and I absolutely love her. I have bought her record. I'm going to go and see her live in June, which will be the holy month of Beyonce for me, the whole month. I am so excited about it. But right now it's a song by hers called Bigger. Do you know that? It's from a Disney movie or something. It's like, you are part of something bigger. It's like this massive anthem that every time you need a psych up, you have to listen to. The whole thing is like a transmission or a prayer. And I'm so convinced, like, I'm obsessed with her. I am so convinced that she is here channeling some archetypal energy in this lifetime for women. I'm in awe. Even all of the stuff that she does on tour is all ritual theater. And I just know it because I've studied it. So I'm like, oh my God, this is the symbol of such and such. And she's just channeling all of this through for people. It's incredible. Like the white horse on the CD cover is the white horse's Mary Magdalene. There's no way that that's coincidence.
Oh, it just got chills.
Yeah. And anyway, I'm obsessed. That song, if you ever need that archetypal energy to move through you, of step into your power, Bigger.
Oh yeah, that's the kind of music we're looking for here.
Yeah.
So awesome. I absolutely will go and look Bigger up from Beyonce. And thank you for sharing that people can find you at wonder.global. And that's where they can find out more about your group facilitation, the program design that's coming up, as well as the free 7 days of Wonder experience. And that's where you definitely want to go. You want to go to the show notes as well, because you will have links to that directly. And you can see the transcripts from today and the summary of our conversation here. Nele, it's been such an honor having you on Her Brave Story podcast. I am so grateful. And is there anything that you would like to leave our listeners with who might be facing their own moment right now, like the one you faced in Circle in Montana, where you're just like, okay, everything I've been doing up until now is not giving me the peace and the joy and the ease that I really want in my life. What's next?
Yes, if you could feel the itch or the like someone's knocking on the door feeling, which I think a lot of people are feeling, then absolutely do something with it. Do something with that. Become curious around what your thing is. And I'd say come to one of the retreats that we organize, because those are actually designed for that transformation, and you'll get to experience the ritual theater and the circle and the nature and the wonder and all of these epic things in person. And those are life-changing experiences. So do that. Go and find somewhere where you can actually say yes to the knock without waiting until the hammer comes. That would be my main advice. Like, find a place where you can explore what's grinding. And secondly, I would say, for me, the biggest teaching that has changed my life is remembering the cyclical nature of everything. And that's a feminine piece of wisdom, which could be its own podcast again. But to know that everything is seasonal, and that everything has a larger story. And this is just part of the story. And because of this moment, something else will be possible further down the track. It's never in vain or something that is lost time. There's always wisdom. There's always something in the time of the contraction or in the time of what we would call autumn or winter in the cyclical nature of things. You go through phases in your life where things just have to die or change and be a bit more uncomfortable, or you have to be underneath the ground for a bit, which I'm kind of experiencing now. I'm spending a lot of time by myself, and I feel like I'm in that place where I've closed the coffin and I'm just listening, and not a lot of exciting things are happening. It's not that place of spring when you're like, oh my God, I keep meeting the most amazing people and all of that. Like, that's not the vibe right now. But because I know this framework so intimately and I trust it, I'm like, oh, this is happening because I just need to have more trust and more faith and be in deep connection to myself and listen and nourish myself and do all the wintry things and find my ground and my boundaries and my values and da. And then spring is going to come again. Those are my 2 pieces of advice.
Beautiful. So deep and wise and vulnerable as well. Thank you for sharing this tenderness of your heart and where you're at too. I know that myself and so many people who are tuning in now and later are going to resonate with. Thank you, Nele.
My pleasure. It was so wonderful to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it was an absolute delight. I am truly honored and grateful that you created the time and space in your life. I wish we could dance out to Beyonce's song Bigger. We're going to have to do that on another occasion. I feel it in my heart right now. I'm going to go find it right now. And I am excited to see how wonder grows and how people get to experience your work. Also, as you're in this winter phase, as you say, what came to me was, program design this is where program design is really being built. It's from this space of being grounded, not out here. You're actually grounding, preparing the soil, getting ready.
Yeah.
And these next things can really be predicated on the stillness that comes in winter.
That's right.
And as we move into winter here in the Southern Hemisphere as well.
Yep.
Setting the ritual theater. I feel like I could start a fire here. Maybe we'll have to come and visit you in the Blue Mountains.
Oh my God, you're so welcome. Like, I always have a candle, so I'll show you. But I always, every time that I have a conversation or a podcast, I always light a candle. It's a ritual I have for myself. So, bit of ritual theater.
Oh, beautiful. I love it. And I have the spray here. The Vessel
I have
Clarity
spray. And I also have a little bell as well.
Goodness. Okay, I don't have the bell. I do have this. So we'll go out with our spray and so much love, beaming out oceans of love to anyone who's tuned in here today and got to hear some of Nele's wisdom and her medicine, as I like to say, sharing that out into the world. I know that her story is so worth sharing, and it keeps us able to amplify women and spotlight the work of incredibly brave women like Nele and help other women like you and other people like you out in the world find her Brave Story podcast. So please do share Nele's brave story, share the podcast, come visit us at herbravestorypodcast.com. And until next time, sending out oceans of love. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brave Soul. I trust that these lessons in courage help you to grow your greatness and remind you you're not alone. Please take a moment to subscribe and share this episode as it helps other amazing people like you to find us and amplify the voices of women rising. You can find links to Nele's work, including her retreats, circle facilitation training, and more at Wonder in the show notes. And if you've been craving a deeper connection, head over to Her Brave Circle. It's our community space for women giving themselves permission to thrive. reclaiming their power, and writing new stories together. We'd love to have you there. I'll be right here waiting for you next time you hit play with a smile and your weekly dose of Her Brave Story, because women's stories matter. Until then, remember that you're worth it, and thrive on, brave soul.